Copyright Act, they say that you don't own your car. You have an implied license to use that car because the software is now what's controlling that car. You're not allowed to work on your own car because or your John Deere tractor because you would be working with their software. See, they want you to be a serf, a slave, a sharecropper, if you will, who doesn't own a single thing. And that's what's behind a lot of this Trans-Pacific Partnership, what's going on with the copyright stuff. But the way that they're going to censor the internet is also through the copyright stuff. So it works. See, the government and the corporations both get something out of it. The corporations get to own everything, and the government gets to control everything. So they'll take a look at your website, and if they don't like you, they'll make some bogus claim about copyright infringement, just like Facebook just made a bogus claim about something being offensive. And then they will shut you down without any due process, without any delay. They will just flip the switch and your website goes down. You see, we've put up with civil asset forfeiture in the name of the war on drugs, where the police can just pull you over because they don't like the way you looked at them, or because they think that you look like somebody they might be able to shake down and steal something from. And then they just take it. They charge your cash with committing a crime. They do it civilly, so they say, well, it's a civil matter, so the Constitution doesn't apply. So that's only for criminal charges. We call this civil charges. And by the way, you know, we don't have any constitutional rights for property, so if the property is committing a crime, we can seize the property. That's the kind of legal fictions that they use. But they can just, without trial, without due process, they can just take your stuff wherever they want to. Now, that is the same thing you're going to see with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. You're going to see civil website forfeiture, where they just take your website. They do it as a civil action, or they do it through a corporation. The corporation says, well, you know, you violated our rules of service or whatever, you know, that fine print that you see all the time. You violated our rules of service, so we're just going to take it down. And it just goes away. Now, there are economic reasons to oppose a Trans-Pacific Partnership. Alan Grayson, a Democrat who is opposing Obama and the Democrat leadership on this, has pointed out that basically this has not worked very well for us with NAFTA. He says it's not free trade, it's fake trade. It is crony capitalism. It is the banker bailout in advance. This is exactly what this is laying the foundation for. He says before NAFTA was enacted and went into effect, this country never had a trade deficit as much as $140 billion a year. However, since then, for 20 years, we've never had a trade deficit less than $140 billion a year. I think it was Clinton who was selling it, said we were going to have an immediate trade surplus of $200 million. No, I'm sorry, it was 200,000 jobs is what he said we were going to get. We've lost almost 700,000 jobs. But nevertheless, we had immediately the biggest trade deficit we've ever had, $140 billion, and we've never had a smaller trade deficit than that. He points out that we have had an average of $500 million now for the last 14 years, a trade deficit. And it is increasing rapidly. We just had a one-month deficit of $51 billion, which was a 40-some-odd% increase over the previous month. Now, the way they're selling this, and they're telling us that it is so secret, and we have to have it secret because, you know, national security. That's always the excuse they use for the secret state. We have a secret court, the FISA court. We have secret court decisions that are made by the FISA court that you are never allowed to see, but they maintain that they alter the Constitution. We have a secret trade agreement that's being developed now, and this article that's on Infowars.com, ultra secrecy surrounds Barack Obama's new global economic treaty. When they go through this, when they try to justify this, just as they did in Politico, they said, well, you know, this is basically a national security issue. It may not seem like a national security issue, but it is because, you know, China's involved. So this is a threat to our national security. Not true. Listen to the way that they have manipulated this story. It's all broken down in an article on the New American. And this is a confession from a Chinese diplomat. They have tried to portray the TPP as the good trade agreement, which is going to be in opposition to the bad trade agreement that China is putting together. They call that the FTAAP. I'm really getting sick and tired of these acronyms because I'm getting sick and tired of the government that creates them. Anyway, what they say is there's been many videos in the U.S. that have described the TPP and the free trade area of the Asian Pacific, that's the FTAAP, as two competing trade initiatives and labeled the competition as a China-U.S. tug-of-war in the Asia-Pacific region. So you see, they create this false dichotomy, which they always do, to scare us into doing what they wanted us to do all along. Now, the false dichotomy here, their bifurcation, is that we've got a bad trade agreement that's being created by China, so we've got to create ours in opposition to them. That's the TPP. Now, they're not making that argument with the European agreement. They're just doing it, okay? But that's what they're telling everybody, and that's why they say it has to be secret because, you know, this is national security. An absolute lie. And listen to what a Chinese diplomat said. This is what a former counselor of the Foreign Ministry of China said. He said that although they appear to be rival, the rivalry doesn't exist. The hype is overblown, and they are compatible with each other. And it was Pete Sessions, the Republican, who pointed out that they can add any nation they want, and they can change the terms because it's a living document. Stay with us. We'll be right back. At Helm, we now have the former lieutenant governor of Texas is making the talk circuit round. He is appealing to people's patriotism, to their blind patriotism, telling them, move along. There's nothing to see here. We need to understand where this guy came from, and we're going to talk about David Dewhurst. We're going to talk about his CIA background. We're going to talk about his involvement in shutting down a bill that would have stopped the TSA pat-downs, let's just call it that, politely, where they stick their hands down your pants, where they sexually molest children without the parents' approval, where they search people without a search warrant. Let's just put it that way, okay? Where they search people without a search warrant. Putting their hands on you far more than we ever saw in any movie about occupied France by the Nazis. There they just demand your identity papers, please. Here they want to stick their hands on you because you are their slaves. You are their pets. They can do anything they want to you. And of course, David Dewhurst worked with the TSA to shut this down. He sabotaged this after it passed unanimously in the Texas House. He shut it down in the Senate. At the same time, the TSA was threatening to turn Texas into a no-fly zone. Now he's out telling people, don't worry, the government doesn't have any malice towards you. They respect your liberty. They respect your rights. I don't think he's a very credible spokesperson for that. And we're going to talk about his CIA background as well as the things that he's been saying when we talk to Joe in the next hour. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Alex Jones reply to what happened, a special report from him about what happened with Facebook. And of course, we've been talking about the article where they suspended our admin privileges for our main admin account because of an innocuous picture that was put up, picture that was not violent, showed no blood, no weapons, nothing. Merely a man in a balaclava and a camo with a flag behind him and a quote from Stalin. Any excuse to shut things down. That's where we're headed. Now, if you want to support us, we have a special. We have Water20 promo code, 20% off of all ProPure water filtration supplies through the weekend. That's a special you'll find right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Also, now is the time to prepare for storable food. You can get it at great prices at InfoWarsStore.com. But again, one of our biggest specials ever on ProPure water filters, Water20 for 20% off of all of the ProPure water filters of any size. And you know, when I look at the fluoridation of water and we look at the fact that they're trying to mandate vaccines for people, as I look at the removal of informed consent, I say, you know, they removed that a long time ago when they started fluoridating our water. If you can dump stuff into people's water supply, if you can mass medicate the public without their consent, they can do anything. And now they are doing that to people because we have tried and been unable in most jurisdictions to get the fluoridation process reversed. So they basically pay large amounts of money for corporate waste, which they then dump into the water. And even if you believe that this is safe or effective, and it is neither, and we're not going to go into all the details of fluoridation, we've talked about that many times, but even if you think that it's a healthy thing, let me ask you how you control the dosage when you just dump it into the water supply. And of course, the federal government has just admitted that their allowed dosages were far too high, and they have just lowered that. And those allowed dosages are twice what we have seen in other countries producing deleterious effects on people's health. But they're giving you the same dosage, whether you're a child or a full-grown adult. Now, stay with us right after the break. For those of you who are listening, we're going to talk about what's going on with the vaccine bills that are mandating this, that are taking away our freedom. And then we're going to have, in the next hour, Joe Biggs joining us to talk about the latest developments in the propaganda war of Jade Helm. Stay with us.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
A chemical spill contaminating the water supply in 9 West Virginia counties.
What are the health effects of having these drugs in our drinking water?
It's forced medical treatment without the consent of residents.
My friends, water filtration is one of the most basic actions you can take to protect you and your family from the harmful toxins and heavy metals in your tap water.
On average, the county says it sprays with the glyphosate at least once a week.
Few filters cut out the glyphosate that is found in water supplies worldwide. Remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, hydrofluorosilicic acid, sodium hexafluorosilicate.
Fluoride, it is in tea, it's in coffee, it's in water, it's in bread, it's in toothpaste.
It is our responsibility to protect our families. The establishment's not going to do it. It's time to take action. It's time to filter our water.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today, and for a limited time, use the promo code WATER20 and get 20% off all ProPure products. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com, or give our crew a call at 888-253-3139.